I like saying thank you as a way to those of you showing up early and on time. Without you, this training would be less than exciting. It's exciting because you are here. So thanks for showing up. And also, I want to say thank you to the GovCon Chamber of Commerce sustaining members. Without you, we couldn't make this stuff possible. And so we really appreciate you being a member. If you're not a member, no pressure, but consider becoming a member because it's a way of you being able to help us continue to bring this content to you and to others and to people who are just getting in, as well as people who've been in the GovCon space for a long time. I'm going to make sure I'm good to go for the starting the training because we're going to dive into that. I like that. If you're on time, you're late. That's a solid military thing for sure. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. In this lesson, I want to call out some traits holding back small businesses in particular from the success that they want. And I want to suggest traits that you can master and that you should master if you want to drive success in the federal market. So in particular, I hope to convince you of a few things, right? First, to eliminate the bad habits that I'm going to mention here today. If you're doing them, eliminate them. Second thing is I want to convince you to be a builder of win-win relationships. I want to convince you to research buyers before you ever go meet with them. And I want to convince you to seek first to understand your buyer or the person you're meeting before you ever try to be understood by them. And so this is what we're going to drive into. These are good traits. If you want to learn business development skills like these that can lead to success for you in the federal market, do me a favor, put BD skills into the chat or the comments. Just let us know you're along for the ride by putting in BD skills, because that's what I'm teaching today, our business development skills. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I want to welcome you to the my federal live sales training. Every day I teach tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner. And since 2018, when I started the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. I believe at my very core that if you learn and follow a proven process, then you're going to have the success that you want. That's what I want for you when you come to this training. And that's what I know that you want for yourself. Before we get started, do me a favor, help buyers remember who you are. Put your company name and your core competency into the chat. Use 2 or 3 words in there that just say, this is what we do, right? Data solutions, data security, cloud migration, whatever it is, try to make it easy for us to remember by using just a couple of words in there. Also, as you can tell in the community, we've got a lot of people in the community every single day that are open to connections. And so engage with each other in the chat. One of the ways you can engage is when I ask you to put something in the chat, do that. It's reinforcing the lessons we're all trying to learn together today. But it also is a way to let other people know that you're in here and you're engaged. And then if you see that somebody's in the city and state that you're at, or their core competencies might align, then reach out. Follow them on LinkedIn, connect with them on LinkedIn, engage with them. Have a one-off meeting outside the community. It's one of my favorite things that we offer here is every day a networking opportunity for you. Finally, don't feel like you can put your information into chats, comments, or other places too many times. You can't. Every single day, put your company name, your core competencies into my training or anybody else's events. Put your information in because other people will see you. I talked with somebody yesterday. This was a customer of mine, but it could have been anybody because I hear this story often. And she was telling me that she's working together with somebody in this community, and she found them through this community because they wrote their core competency in a way that was easy for her to understand. It was 2 words, their core competency, and it happened to match the need that she has that aligns with what she's selling, but she doesn't offer herself. And so it was perfect. They reached out, connected with each other, and now they have a relationship outside this community trying to go after business together. And so I want to encourage you, always put your company name and core competency in here. It's a way to say hello, but it's also a way for us to remember who you are. Okay, so we got 24 minutes and we're going to drive into this. Today's a little less fire hose if I could slow down, because I really want to drive forward on three traits, 3 skill sets you can develop around business development to be successful and have better meetings. But before we do that, let's talk briefly about some bad traits I want you to stop doing if you are doing them, right? You don't have to raise your hand and say, I'm guilty. Just sometimes we do this. And so the first of the 3 traits I want you to pay attention to and stop if you're doing it is treating customers or people you meet with as a transaction. And what this means is it's kind of one and done. You walk into a store, you give them the dollar, you take a candy bar, and you go away. That's transactional, right? And treating somebody like that, one of the ways that you might be treating them that way is when you call somebody and only ask about an opportunity. Hey, I'm going after this opportunity. You want to go with us? No? Okay, bye. You call a contracting officer. Hey, I just want to know about this opportunity. Or a small business specialist. I'm trying to win this opportunity, but they won't set it aside a woman-owned small business. Whatever it is, you're just going in there for a get, right? In fact, the very first tip I gave at the start of today's session was give without expectation and givers gain. Well, you're going in there and getting, and you're not even giving. You're just expecting something. Not you, but if you do this habit, that's what you do when you go in there. And it's kind of like unearned expectations of support, right? I get people actually do this to me a lot, and it's amazing to me. It doesn't impact me because I'm self-motivated, but they'll come to me as if they think I should be giving them something because they saw me on a video and, hey, you should give it to me, compared to just some very basic things like, being polite. So when you walk into somebody and you're treating them like a or you have this unearned expectation of support. You haven't done anything yet to ask for support. And I'll just use me as the example in this case when it happens to me. When somebody doesn't connect with me on LinkedIn, but then they reach out and ask for my help. And I don't mean they haven't connected and they ask for a handout, I said. That's part of what I'm doing. I'm like, when they haven't connected with me and they ask for help getting into an agency or something, I'm like, who are you? It's like, I got paying customers first off, and then I got people who are in here actively engaged. And this isn't about me. I'm just saying, when we walk in and we haven't built a relationship or done any of this, then we're treating that person as a transaction. And I'm going to talk to you about how do you do it the right way so that you're not treating people like a transaction, whether it's federal buyers, teammates, et cetera. The second bad trait to stop doing is having meetings without knowledge of the customer, right? And so this is very fundamental. If you're going to have a meeting with somebody, whether it's a prime or a teammate or a government buyer, you need to understand their organization, their company, or their agency. And so often people will go in unaware of the agency's mission or the program office's mission and what we do. Well, like NAVC, we're in the water side. NAVSUP is in the supply side. NAVFAC is in the facility side. Have you even taken the time to understand that? And so understanding the agency and their command's missions are important. And then going with that idea of having no knowledge is not knowing that, there's the Navy and then there's NAVC, or even knowing that there's the Department of Navy and then the Marine Corps and the U.S. Navy. And then in the U.S. Navy, there's these 10 system commands or something. And then there's more under there. It takes you a day or two to do that kind of prep. And if you're trying to target an agency and then meet people in there, taking the time to understand that will help you. But having a meeting without knowledge of that customer, that's a bad habit we want to break. And the third and final one I want to talk about, bad traits to stop doing, are the seeking first to be understood, right? I mentioned this a minute ago that I want you to seek first to understand. What it means to seeking to first be understood. An example of this could be you're prescribing before you diagnose, right? So I don't mean you're screaming at the top of your lungs. I mean you're going into a meeting and you're just talking about the solution and not trying to understand the problem. Seeking first to understand, you would talk about the problem. Seeking first to be understood, you're talking about the solution first. You're talking about your products, your services. The other thing is another way that you might know that you're seeking first to be understood is when you go in and you give a long capabilities brief. If you go into a meeting with the government, your first meeting should be 30 minutes or less. And what I like to say is your briefing should be 5 minutes at most, and 25 minutes of that is conversation. You're discussing the problems. You're trying to explore what's important to them compared to just saying what's important to you. So a sign that you might be trying to be understood more than you're trying to understand is if you give long capability briefings, right? It's one thing to be kind of, it's obvious to go, hey, that's not me if I'm coming in and I'm difficult. But maybe you are sliding into a bad habit if you're doing something like giving a long briefing that's going on a bit much. So if you understand these bad traits, go ahead and do me a favor, put stop the bad traits into the chat. Just let me know you understood those three bad traits I want you to stop doing: treating buyers as a transaction, having meetings without knowledge, and seeking first to be understood. So stop the bad traits. All right, let's dive into the 3 traits I want to really get you to focus on and practice as you go forward. The first one here is be a relationship builder. Be a relationship builder. So people buy from those they know, like, and trust. But what does it mean to get somebody to know, like, and trust you? I just want to explore that for a second, because that's one of the first things you can do to help somebody, or to be a relationship builder, is you can help people know, like, and trust you. And so know is being visible is basically it, right? Your people know of you either before you reach out to them, or if you reach out to them and they look and they do their own research, they can find you and they can see you. That's knowing. And so some examples of how you can be known, or how you can make sure they know you, is to make sure you're visible in the dynamic small business search, DSBS. Make sure you're in LinkedIn and that you have a profile that talks about what you do, that the activity that's in your LinkedIn profile reflects what you work on. So if you're in cyber, a lot of the LinkedIn activity and profile should be around cyber, right? And that's helping people know and go, okay, cyber, I'm getting to know this person. Your website, it should align to the message that's in DSBS and LinkedIn. Your website should have that similar stuff. Somebody can come in and they can get to know you by saying, okay, here's about the company, here's some services. It doesn't have to be radical. And if you're, by the way, brand new, don't even worry about it too much, right? A single page with sections is more than fine. But your website should be able to help them understand who you are, know you. And then the last one is supplier portals, right? If DSBS and SAM, that is the supplier portal for the government, the main one. We have all these other supplier portals that are in the agencies or in large primes. And so being in there makes you visible. And when you're visible, people will know you, or they'll be able to learn about you and then know you. The second thing is like, right? How do people like you? And I just, when I was preparing this, I just said, be polite. Like the example I used earlier, just be polite when reaching out in any form of communication, right? If you're reaching out on LinkedIn, I often say, hey, if you want a handout, put in handout, please, right? I'm trying to encourage a kinder, gentler community that we're in, right? And people like that. And because they like that, they will like you. That's a simple thing you can do before you even have gone too far when you're trying to help people know, like, and trust you as part of building relationships, is get them or be polite in your emails as well, right? Thank you, please, you're welcome. Any of those type of things in there. Just common courtesy will help people like you. And then the last one is trust. So people buy from those they know, like, and trust. As you're trying to build relationships, you want to develop trust. And in the beginning, you can borrow trust from referrals. For example, if you're on LinkedIn and you have people giving you recommendations in the LinkedIn area, that starts the trust factor, because it's like, oh, somebody else is trusting you. If people come into LinkedIn and they see you're connected with other people, there's a level of trust there. So common connections. So think about these ways you can help them develop trust in you, in who you are. And then ways you can get them to trust you from a subject matter expert standpoint is the content that you put out there, right? If you're on LinkedIn or your website and you have blogs or white papers or whatever, right? Again, don't overly complicate this. Whatever you have, if you're talking about your area of expertise, they will have a level of trust that begins to build with you in there. And this is how they can begin to trust you as part of know, liking, and trust. So be a relationship builder is about, one of the first steps is helping people know, like, and trust you. The second thing is, I want you to, and I'll go through this pretty fast, but I want you to understand Stephen Covey's 6 paradigms of interaction. So when you think about relationship building, how you come in, how you plan to interact with that other person is really important. It's obvious you want to also track on how they treat you, but that's not today's training. Today is about you and this habit you can form and pay attention to when you're trying to be a relationship builder. So the 6 paradigms from Stephen Covey are win-win, win-lose, lose-win, lose-lose, win, and no deal. And let me explain them really quick. So win-win, which is the one you want to have, this is mutually beneficial. You're going into a meeting and the meeting is mutually beneficial. It's not, and when you're coming to conclusions or decisions, it's not your way, it's not my way, it's a better way. That's the idea behind win-win. When you think win-lose, you're thinking to yourself, if I win, you lose, and I'm okay with that, right? And that's bad. This tends to be okay for a boat race. If the 2 boats are racing, one's going to win and one's going to lose, and that's okay. But it's not okay for relationship building. The opposite of that is lose-win, right? Go ahead. You have your way. We'll just do it your way. I don't want to deal with the challenges, etc. And what I say is you're not willing to put the effort in to find the commonality, right? Win-win takes commitment to get there. And so lose-win is just, you losing and them winning. That's not good for them either, by the way. And then the next one is lose-lose. If I can't win, I'm not letting you win either, right? That's all it is. And in order for that to happen, both people need to be that selfish. The next one is win. All I'm thinking about is if I win. I don't care if you win or you lose, right? It's just that I win. And again, that's horrible for building a relationship. And no deal is the last one, this ability to walk away. If I can't find a relationship or a common ground for us to land on, then let's just agree to walk away. Let's agree not to be out there. So if you want to build relationships, if you want to be a relationship builder, help people know, like, and trust you, and then go into every relationship that you're building with a win-win commitment. I'm committed to helping this relationship be win-win for both parties. If you're following that and you believe in what I just said, build relationships into the chat. Build relationships into the chat. The next trait or habit I want you to focus on is knowing your buyer, right? So this whole idea of just taking the time to research your buyer before you go in so you know your buyer. And I'm going to give you 3 ways you can do that to make it easy for you to be able to know your buyer or know the person you're meeting with, right? I'm just saying buyer, but you can switch that with anybody, right? If you're going to go on a date, you're going to look them up on Google and Facebook or something, right? If you're going to go on into a meeting, you basically should be putting that same level of effort. Let me go internet research them in any other tool. So the first place you can go is research, especially with federal agencies, research their website, right? You want to go into their website and learn their mission and vision. And I talked about the Navy and the different commands coming down. They each have different missions and visions. And so it's important for you to understand that, because if you're going to go in, one of the first questions they're asking, whether they say it out loud or not, is, does this person even know what we do? Do they even care? Do they know what our mission is? Do they know we're on water, not on land? Things like that. And a way you can dig deeper into the mission and vision is to find their strategic plan, which is online usually. And you can find their strategic plan, research that. It'll give you their strategic goals, their objectives. By reading this, you're learning about where they want to go. And then the next one, last tip for researching their website is go download their annual report. That was from a previous year. They'll tell you about all their things they're proud of, which you can weave into your conversation and questions. And they'll tell you about the things they didn't get done that they wish they could get done. And they tell you about things they're looking in the out years as new initiatives. By reading these, this type of information, mission, vision, strategic plans, annual reports, by reading that and researching their website, you will begin to know the buyer before you go in. And that doesn't take you long. And more often than not, it will help you ask much better questions that'll lead to the success you want. The second tip for knowing your buyer that I'll give you is go online into their website. One section I didn't mention is follow their online guidance for working with their agency. Every agency is a little different, but if you go in, even large primes have this, how to work with us, how to work with our agency. For example, register with their supplier portal. Second thing is they'll talk about, read their section where they're talking about how can you find opportunities. And so I'll go to one site, like I went to an intelligence community site for NGA, and they say, hey, you can find our opportunities on SAM or on ARC. Are you familiar with ARC? Are you aware that ARC is a tool just like SAM where opportunities are registered, right? NavWar in the Navy, it uses a tool called e-commerce. It's like a 5,000-year-old site, but it doesn't matter because that's where they put a lot of their information about opportunities. That's where they put some of their own forecasts. That's where they put their RFIs and sources sought. And so it's important for you to look at these agencies and understand, how are you telling me to work with you? How are you telling me to find opportunities? And then they also often have a checklist that says, before calling us and trying to set up a meeting with our small business professionals, follow this checklist. And it begins with register in SAM and do these things, but it doesn't matter. If you want to work with them, take the time to go through and go, oh, yep, I'm in SAM. Don't complain about it. Don't go, hey, I've been in business 10 years. It's like, who cares? Checklist it through, because you're showing respect there to them that they took the time to say, if you want to work with us, if you want to call us, please do this first. And if you do it, I'm telling you right now, you will be one of the 20% of the people who call them who actually read that, because 80% don't. And they call and say, hey, I was calling the Navy just finding out if you guys have tanks. Like for driving on the ground? That's the Army. Okay, so research the website, follow the online guidance on the website. And the third tip is LinkedIn. Follow these people on LinkedIn if you want to get to know your buyer better, or the person you're about to meet. Follow them on LinkedIn. See how they're interacting on LinkedIn on their personal profile. So if you looked at me, I have a personal profile, and you can see the stuff that I post. You can also see the stuff maybe I'm engaging with, I'm giving thumbs up, or I'm commenting on, and you can quickly get an understanding about me, certainly enough to be able to help you understand me before you go into a meeting with me. Same thing with your target meeting, buyer, teammate. And then in addition, you can go to a company page. So I can go to Dan Duckwitz in the NAVC and look at his personal profile and see some of the stuff he puts out about the Navy, but his company profile is NAVC. They have a NAVC LinkedIn page, and I can go in there and see what the entire organization is sharing out to the world, right? To the internal people and the external folks. But I can look at the personal profile and company page on LinkedIn before I meet with somebody, and I can know them better before I go in. And so it's just important to understand that this is about research. So put research first into the chat, into the comments. Let me know you understand that it's important if you want to have real success to be able to know your buyer. Okay, so the last tip I want to give you on how you move forward is to seek first to understand, then to be understood. This is coming straight out of Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. I get $20 every time I sell this. Not really, just kidding. But I'm such a big fan of the book. 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. The habit is seek first to understand, then to be understood. And here's how you can seek first to understand. First thing is, I'm going to give you 3 tips. So you might want to write these down. First one is know the problem you solve. You're a company that has a product or a service. I was talking with somebody yesterday, and they have a trucking company. We just happened to get on the phone. It's the first trucking company I ever talked to. And I don't know their business, but even in a business like that, right? What problem do you solve? And I'm not going to work this in here, but I'll use my own example. I used to do SharePoint. My past company was a Microsoft SharePoint-based company. And I knew that one of the things that we solved better than anybody else, a problem that in particular we solved, was we helped deliver business process improvement. So business process improvement, SharePoint is just this technology. So I knew that process improvement is vital to the folks who are failing or having inefficient systems. So I knew in an agency that the people I wanted to reach, and I had solutions to their problems. The problems they had was that the systems they were using, whether it was Excel-based or really fancy, were either failing, crashing, or they were inefficient. I need to get it done in less time type thing. And because I knew that problem, I knew that inefficient systems that I wanted to uncover were things like Excel and other mission critical apps. And my point is, because I know the problem I'm going to solve, I now know what to ask, right? So I'm aligning my solution to the problem, but you have to know what the problem is. So then when you go in, you're going to explore the problem, which is the second tip for how to seek first to understand, is to prepare questions. So the first thing is know the problem you solve. The second one is prepare spin questions. And spin is from a spin methodology, a sales methodology for asking questions. So situation questions, problem questions, implication questions, and need payoff questions. And I'm not going to talk a lot about any of them at the moment, except for problem, because the idea, as I said, know the problem you solve. Well, now you want to have questions that help the customer recognize and reveal that they have the problem, and then to get them to begin to explore that problem. So it's not just, I kind of have this problem. Oh my God, I have this problem. 2, oh my God, I need to solve this problem. There's those 3 stages in sales that you're trying to get people to go through. And so if you write these questions down and you put it into, and you have a set of 5 or 10 questions, when you're in there meeting with somebody, you can show them that you care, and you can show them that you're seeking to understand them by asking them questions, and not like a detective, but you're guiding your words, your conversations to explore the problem further with them. And you're able to show them that you're interested in their challenges as well as their goals going forward. So the second part of seeking first to understand is prepare spin questions. And then the third part is to use a call plan. If you haven't seen me talk about call plans, I have a whole training on that. But basically, a call plan is a sheet of paper that you walk in with, your questions are on there, and you have a shared purpose. And this is why I like it, is that you want to talk to them and say, today, the purpose of this meeting is this. I'd like to explore your problems. You don't say it explicitly like that, right? But I like to explore kind of your goals, your challenges, what's going on. And you're letting them know that there's a shared purpose in today's meeting. Your questions allow you to explore that. So if you understand, call plans are really helpful to helping you have a good meeting to be able to talk about the problems you solve and ask questions that uncover those problems. Do me a favor, use a call plan in the chat. I want you to have that as a habit in your head that I should be using a call plan. Use a call plan in the chat. Okay, so as a recap, we talked about 3 top traits for business developers that if you put these in place, you will have a lot more success. First one is be a builder of win-win relationships. I love that I saw somebody put win-win in there way before I started. The second thing is research a buyer before a meeting. Before you meet with them, make sure you know about them. The third one is seek first to understand your buyer or the person you're meeting with, then to be understood. The last thing here is a tip I want you to take away today. Here's my tip for you. Visit your target agency's website and get the guide that says how to do business with them. If you're selling to State Department, if you're selling to the Navy or to EPA, go in, find their small business page, find the part that says doing business with us and read it. It might even be old, but it doesn't matter. Read it and follow it. Hey, I just want to let you know next week, we're going to have all new training coming out. I want you to make sure that you're subscribed to our newsletter. Just go on to my profile or Gus will drop a link in there, but subscribe to the link, our newsletter on LinkedIn. So that way you can be notified of the other training. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and YouTube will let you know out there. By the way, if you have a topic you'd like me to explore, put it in the chat right now. I'll look at it and see how I can weave it into my training. But we do training every single day of the week, business week, right? And I'd love to consider topics that are specific to you that I can make broad for everybody. Remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is having a great weekend. I hope you have a great weekend.